Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about having a mutable T square in a natal horoscope. Well, a mutable T square is a configuration that deals with three planets or major points in a horoscope where you have an opposition between two of them, and then you have the third planet or point making a square to both those points or planets in the opposition. Now, basically, the problematic area or the conflict is between the two signs or points in opposition, and often the person may try to reconcile or resolve the conflict with that planet or point that makes the square to both of these points or planets. So, and often this could be a point of over-accentuation, over-emphasis, or overcompensation. Now, if somebody has a mutable T square, this can be someone that could be have a lot of vacillation, ambivalence, ambiguity, a lot of indecisiveness. This person may go in one direction one minute and then all of a sudden decide to go into another direction at a later point in time, and it may be hard for this person to find some tenacity or persistence and stick-to-itiveness. But on the positive side, this person can be very adaptable and can be very good at dealing with adverse situations and making the most of them. So those are some things to consider when you have a mutable T squares. Now, T squares in general can be a point of exasperation and sometimes frustration because you have all of this, you have the opposition between two planets or points, and then you have two squares made by that third planet or point. So, and they all kind of work with each other. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to my computer by my monitor, and we're going to look at somebody that has a mutable T square in his chart, and we're going to kind of decipher and analyze it and show you something through example of this. So just hold on momentarily, people, while I go over to my computer. So. Okay, people, sorry that this is not really maybe the best graphic here, but hopefully you won't have to scrutinize too much. So anyway, the mutable T square, or at least one of them anyway, in this chart is the Gemini rising, and it's, if you look here, Moon in Sagittarius, and then we're going to look at Mercury in Virgo. Now, the opposition is this conflict point, is the opposition between Gemini rising and Moon in Sagittarius. Now, Gemini rising has a tendency to be tactful, diplomatic, is about, maybe, I'm not saying necessarily prevarication, but will put things often in a way where it sounds a little bit lighter and might be sugar-coated maybe to some degree in order not to spare a person's feelings. Now, when you look at the Moon in Sagittarius, well, despite being a mutable sign as well, Moon in Sagittarius can often be very blunt, very outspoken, and may not always have tact and diplomacy. So you have that conflict in itself right there. Also, the Moon is the emotional needs, so there's that conflict between the emotional needs of Moon in Sagittarius and these basic needs that are connected with the outer demeanor and personality of this person. Moon in Sagittarius may like things connected with adventure as far as emotional needs, higher education, things of more of that nature. And when you look and being constantly, not constantly, but really have this strong desire to be outdoors. Now, Gemini could be outdoorsy as well, but the difference is with Gemini is Sagittarius likes can often like that higher education And I'm not saying Gemini doesn't, but if so, even a Gemini rising that likes higher education might not always have the persistence to follow through on every subject associated with that, and may sometimes learn superficially, while the Sagittarius might be, despite being a mutable sign, might have a little bit that more stick-to-itiveness with the higher education. So you have those conflicts right there. Moon opposition ascendant can often have difficulty conveying their feelings and emotions, so that's another problem right there, and just in that aspect by itself, regardless of signs. Now we're going to look here, and often this point, call it the focal point of the mutable T square, right here is Mercury and Virgo in the 4th house. Well, this could be a point where the person may often try to reconcile or resolve the problem that exists with the opposition in the T square. Now, Mercury and Virgo in the 4th, Mercury and Virgo can be very analytical and very, have good diction, be very articulate, can learn very quickly and rapidly, and may have difficulty dealing with others that can't always learn as fast as him or her. Now, being in the 4th house, this could emphasize perhaps learning things, assimilating things at home, for example, through an online correspondence course. Well, perhaps that could be a possible resolution to any difficulties in learning something long-term or short-term, and the person can do it in the confines of their own home at their own pace. Now, often what the person does is they look at the point opposite this focal point in the T square, and they look to have perhaps something the problems alleviated this way. And if you go to the opposite point, obviously we're going to be in Pisces in the 10th house. Now, this could indicate maybe this person could find perhaps maybe some peace through these difficulties in connection with something Pisces related in the 10th house of career, which could be something connected with the metaphysical, the spiritual, even something connected with water in a career, such as maybe working on a boat, perhaps, maybe something associated with fishing, oceanography, and maybe this could be the outlet maybe this person needs. And something with spirituality could be something good where they can kind of work out their as far as alleviating any possible turmoil or exasperation, which could be strong, which is associated with this mutable T square. So anyway, people, I'm going to go back over to my spot again and just hold on momentarily. I'll be right with you. Sorry about that, back again, people. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for having a mutable T square configuration in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about having a grand trine in air, or an air grand trine in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person astrologically is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.